So what will it look like in 2030 if we continue with business as usual? We all agree that demand will outstrip supply. Costs are going to increase no matter what. Even in our planning for the future, if we plan sensibly, costs are going to increase, but they're going to increase much more dramatically if we don't plan. There'll be a situation of haves and have-nots, those who have water and those who don't. There'll be dire environmental impacts on estuaries, for example, native vegetation and other ecological sites. Groundwater is already being depleted in many areas, and we had many examples. We removed almost all the examples from everything in this document to streamline it, but in one example, New Mexico and Chihuahua just draw water without coordination, and this doesn't only affect that aquifer, but it has effects further along, for example, on the Rio Grande. Now, there are a lot of obstacles to making improvements in this situation. Again, the items in ITALs are the ones that were given to us this morning. We added to that that the complexity of responsibility held by agencies in the United States is an obstacle. It's a very complicated bureaucratic network. Separately from that, another obstacle is the fact that increasingly our politicians are only looking at their next campaign, and they're not taking long-term views of the problems that face their constituents. We also are saddled with laws that are archaic and do not facilitate the changes we need now. We have water rights systems that come from a prior period and they do not serve us well anymore, but we also agree that they can't be changed, so we're stuck with them. Those are parameters that are very unfortunate. People don't make big changes in their use of water unless they're forced to do so by a crisis. So the kinds of changes in behavior that we're going to have to see by 2030 are going to be difficult to come by. We have some ideas further down in our suggestions for concrete changes, but that's going to be difficult. Another paradigm shift, which we'll see in our next section, comes out of this bullet, which is that we're still managing for demand. We let demand drive our planning, and we need to let supply drive it. We need to manage for the supply and not manage for the demand. We talk about water reuse, but water reuse is really expensive, and that can be an obstacle because going from the idea to the concrete plan means a willingness by the population to foot the bill.